Hey, everybody. It's been a little bit. It's been a minute. Hold on. I need to put on some music. I just came from work. This worked out surprisingly well. I had a very crazy Friday, but I'm normally working right now on Fridays, but here I am. I made it. I was able to actually do this. Now, me being here, I don't want that to communicate to you that we're gonna get Sonic Adventure 3 or anything. Okay? That's not why I'm here. I'm just here because I could be. I felt ready to go. I squeezed it in. Though I will admit, this was very last minute. So if you notice that any of these graphics, these fancy graphics that shout outs Ryan made, and if any of them are slightly off, that might be just because I really sped run this, but I'm getting really good at it over the years. Hey, what's going on, everybody? Hey, Roger, what's going on? I'm gonna go back to the stream in just a bit, but that YouTube countdown was super loud. I agree with you guys. So for the last couple of seconds, I'm just gonna wait until that countdown is done and we'll pop back. I'm almost positive the actual live stream will not be that loud at all. I think it's just YouTube. They're like, oh, let's go for the loudest intro possible. That way, no matter what, the live stream itself won't blast their ears. It's almost like that song is designed to not be too abrasive. It's like kind of chill, but still, it hurts. So let's check back to that live stream. Okay, yeah, here we go. This is the real live stream. There we go.
Hello, everyone, and welcome to IDW Presents Sonic the Hedgehog comics.
Hey, I know him.
I'm David Mariotte. I'll be your moderator. I'm also the editor of IDW Sonic comics. In this panel, we're going to be talking about our, Sonic comics that were coming out through IDW, as well as Sonic's upcoming 30th anniversary, and some secrets that you may not know just yet. Joining me are Ian Flynn, a longtime Sonic writer, and currently working on Sonic the Hedgehog Bad Guys. Jack Lawrence, the artist on Sonic Bad Guys. And
Michael's the only one with a Sonic virtual background. Come on, you gotta represent, guys.
Evan Stanley, the writer and illustrator of the ongoing series right now. And Mike Cisneros, manager of licensing at SEGA of America. So, everyone, thank you for joining us. I want to start out talking about the ongoing series. So, Evan, can you tell us a little bit about Chow Races and Badnik Bases?
No problem,
David.
David.
The current storyline starting in issue number 33.
I wish I
Sure.
I wish.
Well, Chow Races and Badnik Bases is a 4-part series that is kind of a more self-contained mystery heist kind of story to give us something with a little lower stakes, but still a ton of intrigue where we get to have some fun with some characters that don't often get a lot of time in the spotlight. So as kind of a change of pace from the last arc, which had a huge scope and an enormous cast.
Fair enough.
Yeah.
So one of the things that is happening in what we have been calling Crab is the introduction of a couple of new characters.
Yeah.
There is both Clutch.
We'll discuss later. I see people asking me questions. Don't worry, we'll discuss
our new
after.
character Belle. Can you talk a little bit, you and also Mike from the SEGA side, about creating a new character for Sonic and what that process is like?
Looking at it from the purely creative perspective, my goal is looking at, okay, what kind of characters do we already have in the series, and what are some new roles and archetypes that could fit into that dynamic and fill out the cast and give us more storytelling options. So I look at that and it's like, okay, what could we do? Oh, there's an idea. If I made that kind of character, what kind of stories could I tell with them? And if I want to tell that kind of story, what sort of traits and background does that character need? So it's kind of like a back and forth of asking questions like, what do I need to do this? If I do that, then where does it need to go from there? So you kind of build up with like if-then questions. It's kind of the same, and that's like the story side for me. And then the visual side, you're focusing on what design elements do you need to focus on to illustrate who the character is from a glance? Can you tell? And it's like, so I usually pick out a few identifying features and then try to incorporate those into established Sonic character design elements so that they still feel like they fit into the universe. And Belle is a really interesting example of that. Am I allowed to talk about her?
Yeah, a little bit.
For Belle's design, she's a robot, but she's made out of wood. So the idea is, okay, we have lots of robots. None of them are made out of wood. If she's made out of wood, what does that mean about her creation and how she interacts with the world and what her like design elements focus on? So it's like I started from that, like, oh, we've never done like marionettes and puppets before. How would that look in Sonic and how would that operate?
Yeah. Our side, we look at things pretty similarly. We look at largely how does like a new character fit into Sonic's world? Like how would Belle fit in with Sonic and his friends, or how would that character potentially interact? What are some of the kind of more interesting aspects that separate that from the other roster of characters that we have that we're working against, and also to make sure that whatever it is that you're working on also tends to read for the audience too. Like when you mentioned it was a robot, we were like, okay, how do we make it look instantly recognizable as a robot? Like when we're pulling up roll call or like a bus shot or something of the character, like one of the last editions where some of the line, like the marionette line marks on the mouth, something like that.
Thing.
Yeah, exactly. That's something that I think that was added later because it was hard to tell that she was a robot in the earlier drafts. But yeah, I mean, that's how we look at it too. We like to fill out the world and make sure that they just make sense to be there. And, so far, like we have a great cast of new characters involved in the series.
Mm-hmm.
So speaking of that great cast of new characters involved in the series, thank you for the excellent transition, Mike.
I'm here to
Dr.
help.
Oh yeah, sorry, I turned my mic down.
Is the lead of Sonic Bad Guys. Ian and Jack, you want to tell us a little bit about what Sonic Bad Guys is?
Well, one of the major themes within
Soggy Pickles.
Sonic
Sam isn't always with me.
the
Sometimes he's not here.
Superpower of teamwork, and we see a lot of Sonic and his friends coming together and synergizing and being a greater unit as they come together and be friends and help each other and whatnot. And Bad Guys kind of turns that on its head because over the past year and a half, we've introduced a lot of new villainous elements. So it's kind of fun to just put them all in one jar and shake it up really hard and see all the chaos that ensues.
Jack, do you have anything you'd like to add?
I think Ian wrote it, so he knows exactly what he's talking about. I think that it's anytime you deal with villains, you're looking at that exactly as Ian said, turning stuff on its head, and it has cemented certainly Starline and Mimic as like two of my favorite characters, not just in Sonic, but like I think of all time. It's just it's wrong and it's naughty and it's just gleeful for that. I love it.
Well, I may have wrote it, but you drew it, man. You have some of the most delightfully arrogant and just slimy Starline. He's so dapper, and yet you just
they're complimenting each other. I just want to say that those two characters they just showed, I really do like in their design. I think Belle's design's not my personal aesthetic. That's what I was saying earlier when I was too quiet.
I genuinely
I think it'll be interesting.
Kind of character.
It's a unique concept, but like the color scheme is not for me.
But people, I hate arrogant
the shape
people, and I hate
too
slimy
puffy. I mean, the
people.
puppet aesthetic is not really for me anyway.
And
kind of creeps me out. I get why it would put people off.
I just don't get on with that kind of snootiness, but I love drawing it, and I can't stand Eggman. I just absolutely loathe him, but in the right way. It means that he's a great villain because I just can't stand him. I think it's all the hours and hours I've spent fighting him, but I just don't like him. But to draw him and to really push those just vile characteristics that I can't stand, it's so much fun. There's not a goody two shoes among them.
So you guys mentioned, the griminess is part of the greatness. So what is it about working with the bad boys, the villains, that is so different and, you know, intriguing as opposed to working with Sonic and the heroes?
Well, there's a kind of freedom in the storytelling in that with the heroes, you want them to succeed. You know, they are confronted with adversity and you worry about them and you hope that they come out better in the end. With the bad guys, by the nature of the story, they are the protagonists, so you want to see how they win, but you also don't want them to win. So as bad things happen to them, like, yeah, you're losing. And when they're winning, like, yeah, you're winning. So no matter what, the reader is coming out on top in the end. And it's also fun because, you know, with the heroes, if things turn sour and they kind of, you know, bicker or maybe turn on themselves a little bit, you're like, no, guys, calm down, you're friends, work it out, you know, don't be like this. But with the bad guys, the minute they turn on each other, you're like, yeah, go for the throat. How is this going to turn into a giant flaming disaster? I can't wait.
Yeah, totally. I think that as I mentioned before, that, you know, being able to push those. I love drawing emotion and character beats, and being able to push those towards the, you know, you wouldn't want your hero to look smug.
Over this.
And in fact, you're kind of pulled up on that sometimes in the notes.
Because they're just complimenting each other.
Too smug, so you can tone that down. But, you know, who's going to say Starline looks a bit too smug? You can just go for it, and yeah, it's
no, you're awesome.
It's what comics
you're
are
awesome.
for me, or should be for me, that I so rarely find in comics, and that's just fun, just suitable for everyone, a little bit naughty, and just good fun.
Awesome. So, question for sort of everyone: what's it been like coordinating Sonic as an ongoing game bad guy? Like, this is the first time we've actually had two writers working in the IDW Sonic universe at the same time, other than the annuals. So what's it like, particularly for Ian and Evan, you know, having to work out how stories get told and who's playing with what character when, and things like that?
In my case, it was kind of relieving because after the Metal Virus saga, it's like, okay,
I know I'm barely talking, but I
now?
feel bad. I don't want to talk over him.
I think Evan should take the lead for a bit. It's like, it's Evan's problem now. Have fun with that.
At least for Crab, it worked out really well.
And overall, there's just a lot of back and forth. It's like, okay, you know, Evan, this is your show. What do you want to do? And if I have stories, where can they fit? Where can they bolster yours? You know, what ideas do you have that I can incorporate into mine? What ideas do I have that you might want to use in yours? And just a lot of talking back and forth and working together and, you know, see how to help each other out.
Yeah, it was really nice that actually we came up with like we have two very like separate storylines for the most part, but with kind of like the themes reinforce each other a lot, which came out really well, and I like that, where it's like the stories are separate, but thematically they support and make each one more interesting.
I think that is all very fair, and I'm really excited for people to
I see all your questions, chat. Even now, I feel bad for talking over them. I don't want to.
I know I've sent you some ref from
I will answer at the end.
33, and I think I've done the
try
same
to remember.
to Evan with ref from Bad Guys. So what is it like coordinating on the art side?
Well, I mean, I didn't really think about that side of it until that email that you sent with that reference, and I incidentally only saw that today as well. I know you sent it yesterday, but for some reason I only saw it today. Yeah, for me, that's the first I knew about it, but I'm fine with that. If it's, I'm just the guy. You tell me what to do, and I'll do it. If something needs to change because continuity is the most important thing. It irritates me to no end if there is no continuity in between issues of comics, and if that comes down to me changing something so that the continuity works, then so be it. I'm just tell me what to do and I'll do it.
Yeah, and like I'm looking at, like, I saw some of your examples of like action shots with Starline, and it's like, oh, I need to do That's cool. Saving that for later.
Yeah, well, we had we went a bit too. I went a bit too far early on, and we had to tone that back. I had to tone that back a little bit. But yeah, as I think from the pages that I'm doing now, the over-the-top action is good to go. So yeah, go for it.
Cool.
I mean,
It's
on our
hard
side,
for me
too,
to
we're
not
always
talk,
looking
guys. You
do
have to
things a little
understand.
more holistically, you know. So on the Sega side, we always have to take a step back and make sure that the book, both series, are accessible to audiences. So if somebody is picking up the mainline series, they don't necessarily need to pick up the bad guy spin-off to understand what's happening.
What do I talk?
And then vice versa.
No, I have to wait.
That's what we're looking for, just to make sure that everything is a pleasurable experience for our audiences.
Yeah, that's true. They're very
What's my throat?
complimentary without being, 100% necessary. So, of course, go pick them both up. You're gonna like them.
They're good.
So, Sonic 2021 is Sonic's 30th anniversary, and we have some big plans for the ongoing. Speaking of coordination, Evan and Ian, do you want to lay out like the next two storylines just a little bit?
Here we go.
So people know what's coming.
Let's go.
Yeah, I think I'm next. After Crab, it's another one with me, which is, I think, a four-parter,
Tie it into the
which
games.
is
Just make a
currently
canon.
titled
Please.
Test Run. That's about Sonic, Tails, and Amy getting trapped inside of a tower, which Eggman is using to do experiments on new technologies for his various nefarious purposes. And they're trying to survive the various levels of the tower and hopefully escape. Well, meanwhile, Tangle and Belle are sabotaging the tower from behind the scenes. Yeah, and it's like, and it gets the experiments get
like the
kind of
games?
trippy,
That's not what I said.
and it's hopefully going
Tie
to be
them to
something
the games.
kind of like a more fanciful sci-fi.
I don't want the comics to be
take
canon.
With a little
I want
bit
one
of extra
canon.
spooky.
Fun.
Yeah.
Oh, great.
So that sounds like a little fun
And then
story.
after
Nothing
that,
big.
At the end of Metal Virus, 5 of the Deadly 6 were unaccounted for. They're just out in the wild. And there's going to be some
No way you say
fallout
Chaz?
from bad guys that will deal
Really?
with Zavok.
That's
So that's a lot of Zeddy that need to be answered for. So we're going to answer that.
so much I want to talk
Very
about right
exciting.
now because I can see the chat.
All
I see
right,
what you're saying.
So now I want to move on to some more, general Q&A, the sort of stuff that you'd expect to hear
How can
on
you
a
answer
panel.
live Q&A if this is
So
pre-recorded?
first off, in everyone's opinion, who is the most interesting and challenging character to work on in Sonic's world?
Sonic himself, obviously, because every decision you make, someone's gonna go, eh.
I kind of. This is going to sound like I am saying this because I feel I have to, but I'm genuinely not. For me, it's got to be Starline. I think he's so.
Favorite?
I guess complicated is the word.
Any of the new characters
he's,
are obviously the easiest ones because they
on
have no
surface,
preconceived
certainly at the start,
opinions.
You could be forgiven thinking he's just a fanboy, but it goes way deeper than that, and that's
Shadow's
was
a
what we
tricky
were
one too,
exploring in
Egg
Bad
Fighter, I
Guys,
agree.
And I just, as much as he makes my skin crawl, I just love him, and I think he's a brilliant creation.
I'd say for me, the most challenging in terms of like acting and writing would be Shadow, because he's a character where he
Nice
won't
pick.
say what he means, and you really have to. And he's also not very emotive, like visually, so you have to do a lot of really subtle work with very precise word choice and body language, much more than a lot of the other characters. But like
His body
then
language is
also,
this.
like, on just a simple technical level, probably the hardest for me to draw is Eggman,
or
just 'cause he's
that's all
very
he does.
complicated. He's very different. Usually around really complicated things, so it's like,
Or the-
oh my God. What? But he usually has some of the biggest rewards where it's like you draw it right, it's like, oh man, looks so good.
A good
What do you
Eggman
think he
is a
means
hard
by
thing to
crossing
beat.
his arms?
Eating eggs. Thank you.
Oh, rim shot.
I guess for me, I mean, Jack kind of put a point on it with Starline, is that his character is evolving and we're exploring him in a lot of ways. One of the challenges is with a lot of the new characters is, we introduce them as at a certain point in their lives, and a lot of them have seen a lot of growth and change over time. So it becomes a question of where do you take them now that it keeps them recognizable but doesn't stick them in a holding pattern. One of the things that is going to be challenging for me, and I'm looking forward to it a lot, is when we do more with Whisper, because she was a very damaged individual when we first met her, and now she's come through to a much better place. So what does she do with that? Where does she go from here? And that's going to be a tricky question to answer.
Yeah, in general, it's some of these characters are difficult just because of.
I'm going to try to remember them and answer them at the end.
How they do have a deep history and how they are, supposed to act, I guess, for part of their character biology or what's in their DNA.
Whisper is
and
of the most unique
some of the best
and most visually communicates her personality through her design alone.
I don't think they're gonna let this happen.
Use of
so
wisps.
We gotta creatively
and her character design. Not because I like wisps,
try to come up with
but because I think she utilizes them better than they've ever been utilized.
Oftentimes those suggestions, even though internally it takes us a lot of deliberating just to come up with this is gonna work, but oftentimes those actually turn out to be some of the better ways that things have happened, and overall it keeps the characters true. So it's a lot more work for some of them.
Tales Channel will need help at some point. Yes, but
Shadow's
not now.
By far probably one of the most difficult characters to review. Omega's
Fighter,
also
that's
a
not
challenge.
True. Whisper's not the custom avatar.
But we do it with the intentions. Of course, we don't want to stifle creativity, but we also want to keep the brand. We want to assure that the characters are the characters at
X-Pool. Matt's been gone for years,
and everyone here clearly does a great job of what they're doing.
Matt in the chat.
Figure out the challenges of a reserved Shadow.
I'm here.
And things like that. And hey, it's fun. So everyone here has worked on or admired Sonic for a really long time.
I miss Matt too, but he's got to do other things,
What is it about
dude.
Sonic that keeps you coming back to the franchise year after year?
Well, one thing that, for me, it's it's a series that has a lot more variety than a lot of other similar kind of kids entertainment franchises, where it's gone to a lot of different places and it's explored a lot of different genres and styles of story and styles of character. So you can really find something new almost every time you go back, or you can approach something from a new angle, and or you can look up inspiration and sources for some element of the art or story, and learn about something new. And it's that kind of variety and opportunity for tangential exploration has really kept me coming back over and over again.
I'm going to reiterate what Jack said earlier about Bad Guys, but I think it applies to the entire franchise. It's accessible and it's fun. I mean, that's really all there is to it. It's bright, it's colorful, it's adventurous. You can pretty much dive in anywhere, and it's weird and it's wild, and who cares, because you're having a good time.
Yeah, I think that's it for me. I was 15 when the original first game came out over here, and it's just
Mighty and Ray are better as classic characters,
and it was so different.
I like them better that way, Caleb.
That it was the kind of thing that just got into my heart and stayed there.
Yeah. It's just plain fun. That's all it really boils down to. But it's but there's so much you can do with these characters and all the characters that fill out the world, and each one has a very interesting backstory to them that you can also explore. And what happens when you put these two characters with each other, or when we throw this bad guy into the mix, how are they going to react to this situation? There's this like the possibilities are endless. So there's always a reason to kind of come back to the, you know, to the trough to eat more Sonic deliciousness. You know, that was a bad analogy.
And so
They kept that
since
in.
we're building
What
off
did they
of
cut
that,
out?
you know, clearly fun is an
SA3.
important element
I'm
of
just kidding.
Sonic.
Kidding.
And the characters in their world are so important. How do you guys incorporate the themes of Sonic into your work? I know, I'm asking all the tough questions this time.
These questions are tough.
Well, at its absolute basis, you know, Sonic is all about freedom of movement, freedom of expression, freedom of identity, and Eggman is all about control, about
Go off.
You know, dominating others, instilling his will and his structure upon individuals and the environment, and those are diametrically opposed. So
Nice.
the immediate meeting of the two is, you know, fertile ground for conflict. And when you have such a big, bombastic personality like Eggman, and you have Sonic, who is always going to have the right quip at the right time and just be cool about it, it's interesting because you have that very accessible and relatable conflict, and you have these really charming and engaging characters that are just going at it with giant robots and flying around like a living cannonball. So it's really kind of easy to get into because it's just so much fun right then and there.
And it feels like if you keep, because Sonic himself is such an intense embodiment of the series themes. If he stays on point, you'll get there, and so it really is just the making sure the character dynamics stay strong. The themes will become apparent, like Ian said.
A wonderful answer. So, I know this is going to be hard to pick, but what's your favorite Sonic thing? Be it a game, piece of merch, snack, soundtrack, whatever,
Look
that
at
you
Ian.
didn't work on?
For me, that's actually quite an easy one. It's the Sonic Forces score. I just think that is one of the it's on my iPod, and it's almost a daily listen. It's because I'm a big movie score. I don't really listen to anything other than movie scores, and I mean some theatre. You know, I'm a bit of a theatre nerd. But yeah, it's one of the best scores for anything. It's so emotive, and you know, there's the military aspect. It's brilliant. I love it.
Well, now I need to know. Do you listen to it while you're working on pages?
Yes, absolutely. Because I have a Sonic playlist on my iPod, which has
the Forces soundtrack, in my opinion, is like
Sonic
some of the
Adventure
best
2,
Sonic music and some of the worst at the
Sonic
same
CD,
time.
both the European and
Does that make
the
sense?
American. They're the one, yeah, American versions. And there is another one. I can't think what it is. But yeah, absolutely. That's when I'm definitely especially when I'm inking. That's I just lose myself in it.
It's a mixed feeling. Yeah, it's weird.
This might be cheating a little bit.
You could say
since
variety.
I did kind of put the characters together and
What you gonna
come
say,
up
Ian?
with the moniker for the team, but I have a full set of Team Hooligan in the original Sonic the Fighters plushies.
Shanny's popping off somewhere.
And they are safely tucked away so that the elements may not touch them. I may let them see the light of day at some point just to bask in their glory, but by dinging, I've got a bean, I've got a fang, I've got a bark.
They're such a good team.
No,
Bring
I'm not
it
going to tell you how
back.
much money that was spent.
Yeah, I gotta go get mine. Hold on.
All right.
Okay.
Show and
Well,
tell.
I'm going to
Yeah.
flex on me now. Okay. I see how it is. See how it is.
Yeah. So,
Okay, my thing that I only have 3 of the books here, but it's not a game. It's my favorite thing that's not a game and not something I worked on is this series of books.
Oh, wow.
And
They have the
I
Dark
Sonic.
It's in the other room. But these beautiful, horrible books by Martin Adams, which is actually a pen name for like 3 guys,
Where Sonic's like,
are completely insane. Ridiculous.
what's on the inside?
It's like Hitchhiker's Guide to the Galaxy, but Sonic, and nobody cares, so they just did whatever they wanted. I believe in this one, Sonic turns into a toaster and has to communicate via toaster waffle Morse code. And that's not,
Amazing.
that's like surface level crazy in these books.
Wow.
They are beautiful. Please read them if you can find them.
All right. I guess I'm just gonna. I thought someone was gonna take this, but I think my favorite Sonic thing I didn't work on was the Sonic OVA. That thing is spectacular.
Yeah.
I thought that someone was gonna steal that one, but I'm glad.
It's so good.
I will say, just because of Evan, my second favorite is, in fact, the actual Sonic toaster.
It feels like I'm there.
Yay.
They keep saying that to me.
And my first
Your
is
favorite
the
Sonic thing is
Sonic
a
Adventure
toaster?
Big the Cat action figure, which sits at my desk at work, because of course he does.
Of course
Come
you do.
on.
With Froggy.
You don't play Sonic. You don't know
So,
Sonic.
yeah, thank you all for joining us.
This
just
it?
a reminder for folks,
This is it.
Sonic the Hedgehog is on sale right now at your favorite comic book store.
Sonic, the brand is
issues
on sale.
33 and 34
Someone
should
buy
both
it. I'm
be
just
out
kidding.
this
Don't.
month,
It's not on sale.
As should
They're talking
Bad
about the
Guys
comics.
numbers 1 and 2. We have the rest of the series
Ricardo.
coming out soon. Please
It's because
check
you
with your
like
local
a
shop
different
for
type of Sonic.
specific dates.
That's okay. Okay.
We also have the continued program for the
They're just talking about the program,
graphic
so I'm
novel
gonna start talking.
collections. The newest one, Volume 7, should be out in November.
On that note, on that point, you like a
We
different
have
type of
the
Sonic. In my
Spanish
opinion,
language graphic
I
novel
think it's
programs,
possible to
which
fuse.
are
I do
amazing,
believe this,
and it is
Ricardo.
so cool to
The
see
Sonic you like,
coming
and when I
through
say the Sonic
in
you like, I'm
Spanish.
referring to like the
It
opening
is,
cutscene
at
of Sonic
this point, I
06.
think IDW's
That
only
really
licensed
cinematic,
title that's
real
doing
world
that,
Sonic.
and
I
it's
think that's what you
because
really
so
like.
many people love Sonic.
I do
so,
believe, and
thank you for your support
I know it's
there.
crazy, but I do believe the
and
OVA
then,
and that
yeah,
Sonic
there will be
can. There's
more
like a
Sonic
hybrid
to
in
come
there.
in
That's what I want.
2021.
That's the like.
We have a lot more
That's the
announcements
tasty
on that
stuff.
horizon, but those are for another day. As Ian is so fond of saying, there's a knowing smile or two there. So again,
He
thank
says
you to my
knowing smile
panelists
too much
for
now. I
participating.
used to get
Thank you
excited.
to the audience for coming and watching us talk about Sonic for a while.
All right, I think this is it.
And before we go, I want to ask one final question of everyone. You knew about this ahead of time, so I hope you've given it some thought. Who are your top 3 Sonic characters?
Top 3 Sonic characters.
The answer changes.
Sonic,
like every
Tails,
3 minutes.
Knuckles. It used to be
Yeah.
Shadow, but Shadow,
fair.
I'm sorry.
You
haven't been
lately. Right now, I'm gonna say this changes all the time. Today, it is Sonic, Silver, and Tikal.
I haven't seen enough to
Yeah,
up to call.
I'm definitely
The entire
being
time she was in
influenced by what I'm
Adventure,
working
she's
on
just like
right
in distress.
now because,
I don't know what she's like on a
Evan's
good
just
day.
beaten me to Silver. I wasn't going to say Silver, but I absolutely love Silver. But because I'm what I'm working on right now, at number 3 is Rough and Tumble. They've
Well,
gotta
I
go
was
as a pair.
comparing
Sorry,
the
I'm gonna
opening
cheat on
of
this.
06,
Rough and
Ricardo,
Tumble.
because that's the
Number
closest
2,
that Sonic
Starline.
has
Number
to a
1
movie.
is Mimic at the moment.
Does that make sense?
I just think he's brilliant.
I know that the OVA is technically like 2
He is really excellent.
episodes of an anime that's proposed,
Mike or Ian?
but like
You're
it's a
asking
more
me to choose
cinematic
between my
experience,
children,
right?
but in
So like the
no
fusion of those
particular
2
order,
cinematic
the
experiences
3
is
that I
kind of
will
what I'm looking
always
for,
try
which
to
is why
find
SA1
an
is like.
opportunity to work with are Dr. Eggman, Knuckles, and Bean the Dynamite.
You guys don't need another fan characters, but he said Bean. Bring
I
back
gotta
Bean.
go, like,
They're like
with
another
my
chaotix. and I
number
love
one
the
is Knuckles,
chaotix.
just because I feel like that was the character that really got me into Sonic before. Like I played Sonic,
You said
you know,
Quiet
Sonic
Roger?
1
What am
and
I supposed
2,
to
and it was,
do?
you know, just something I played. But the one I really got excited for was the first time was Knuckles, when Sonic and Knuckles came out. So I'll say Knuckles is number 1. Tangle would be 2. And 3 would probably be Rouge. I really think that she has a really interesting character that can be explored a lot.
Good taste.
You know, thank you.
Good taste.
And we'll be
That
getting some of that
validation.
in Crab. Anyway, Mike, I can't fire
Ricardo,
you, but the
SA1
rest
is
of you
king.
guys
Can't
didn't
wait
say
for
Big the
SA3.
Cat, so,
Can't believe they announced that on
thanks
Wednesday.
for joining us on
No,
Sonic,
Ricardo,
but
no.
We thought you were
Those are
going
our
to
top
take
3
that one.
favorites. You worship Big. Big
Yeah.
is love. Big is life.
But
I mean, all
okay.
3 of my top 3 favorites are Big the Cat, so.
Well, there you go.
The Tales Channel article did not talk about how,
All right.
yes, that
Thank you
3
again
is
for
from the
joining us.
stock image, but
This
why
has
did they
been
leave it?
IDW
Why was that the only
Sonic
number
the
they
Hedgehog
left?
Comics at New York Comic Con Online.
Real talk. Okay, so we got a bunch of things to talk about. I will join a group chat. Maybe Ryan will spam me if I missed something from the panel, but I believe that is the entire stream. Not much, but okay. So like a bunch of you were asking me like, out of the new characters, what are my favorite? I was definitely gonna say Whisper. I really do like Tangle, but I don't know if that's because Tangle is very similar to Sonic, and I obviously like Sonic the most, so I don't think it's fair of me to say Tangle, though I do like Tangle's design. It's a toss-up between Tangle and Whisper. I want to give it to Whisper because she has a more unique and recognizable silhouette, and I like her utilization of the wisps. Like, if she came with the wisps in colors, I feel like people would have no problem with the wisps at all, because they would have some sort of narrative tie-in, whereas in colors, they're just kind of like a gimmick, and they're like, oh, look at, you can go, you do other things, and that's where the hate came from. They're like, oh, like, they made it everything 2D, and now all the 3D fans are like, oh, we hate colors because it's like that. I get it, it's just... That's my point with Whisper, is it's a good implementation of the wisps, and I want that to continue. A little thing I was talking about before, about how I want the comics and the games to go together. This is a consequence of how the Sonic franchise tends to be. So I will shelve that for a moment and tell you that, of course, ideally, the narrative in games would be really detailed. You know, I haven't played Crash 4, but see... I've seen like clips, and the animation is just top notch. Of course, I want that for Sonic. I want them to refer to past lore. I want there to be a consistent canon that was established back in the classic games that was carried from Adventure and Adventure 2. I want that canon to be built upon. So when I say I want the comics to be canon, I don't necessarily mean that. I want there to be one canon. And so bringing back that thing I shelved before about how I was talking about how the Sonic series tends to be, since they seem to kind of make the narrative a afterthought, I was thinking that if they do tie it to the comics, if they can add details to the narrative with the comic book issues, so they give us these fun filler arcs as an anime would, but then we would start to see the build up to a bigger, more important arc. That way the game itself can still have the cutscenes, I know, be an afterthought as their template has been, but we would still have that context and that narrative in the background, so that it would feel like the narrative is important. Now, this is only if Sonic Team carries on telling their stories as they have been, right? So again, that was a shelved point. Ideally, I would have those detailed cutscenes. It would be a standalone narrative in the game itself, ideally. But if that can't be done, which is a very real possibility, and obviously something a lot of people think, that is why I typically will say that. I will say, hey, just tie the games to the comics, especially considering that the IDW series started after the events of Forces. And as much as I don't like the game as a package of Forces, because it wasn't what it needed to be at the time, I agree that it's not bad, it's just not what we needed. It was nowhere near good enough to justify the drought prior, and it just did not deliver what the community needed. But that does not mean that it is bad in any way, and if you enjoy it, that's fine. And no discredit to the developers. It was blown up because of what the community wanted based on the games that came before it, Rise of Lyric and Lost World. It just was not the appropriate follow-up that the community needed based on the satisfaction of the two previous outings we got. If the games before it were different, Forces would be an afterthought. It's all part of this story. And so, just like that, if the game that comes after Forces is a huge improvement, I guarantee you the hatred towards Forces will diminish a little bit. It really depends on where the series goes. And so there's a lot of routes we can take. Now, about the comics, what we were just hearing about. We only heard a little bit about where they were going to take the narrative in the future, and it sounded like there's this tower that Amy and Sonic and I believe Tails are trapped in. I don't know if it was Tails or Knuckles. Again, I was like resisting the urge to respond to all your questions, but it seems like a little, a playful arc where they can, let the characters bounce off of each other as they have been doing. And I think a lot of you asked me, what do I think about IDW Sonic so far? The Metal Virus arc, I think, is in response to the community's reaction to stories like Lost World, where the stakes are just nowhere near high enough, right? There was only one moment in Lost World where it felt like the world was going to end, and it was just a machine, and then they reversed the machine, and then it was all fine. Before that, really, it was just an isolated incident. It didn't feel like it mattered. And Forces answers that as well, right? Eggman takes over the world. And I like that. Honestly, I do. I do like how they answered that criticism from the fan base. The stakes were nowhere near high enough in the narratives. The Metal Virus is like that, right? There's higher stakes. My problem with it being a virus is you could argue that the Metal Virus arc is actually lower stakes than Forces. And here's why. It being a virus implies there is a cure. So day one, the punch of there being a metal virus is softer than you would expect it to be, right? It being a virus will always imply that there is a cure. And to be perfectly honest with you, that is a safe narrative to go into, because really all you have to think of is, what is the cure? What characters' abilities are we going to use to reverse the effects of this arc? And then after that, the only thing you have to do is rebuild the city, which they're doing in Forces anyway. And we've seen tons of narratives do that in the past. Rebuild the city, they all do it together, they did it. So, and especially in a series like Sonic, where everyone has these like really cool abilities, and we have mystical gems, and now we have the Warp Topaz, we got the Phantom Ruby, we got the Master Emerald, we've got the 7 Chaos Emeralds, and who knows, we can also have the Time Stones, we could have Super Emeralds. They have all these mythical resources. Tikal could come back to life, Chaos, Dark Gaia, all these mythical options to cure a potential virus, that there is no stakes in a virus. And so when we got to the conclusion of the Metal Virus arc, it was super forms, so Chaos Emeralds, plus telekinesis, silver, plus Warp Topaz. The consequence being that Sonic loses his memory temporarily and gets warped to another world, and the obvious damage to their world. Stream Dog! Can I get an opal in the chat for every bark you hear? But I'm not gonna stop. So going into the next arc, it seems like it's gonna be a little while until they take another stab at high stakes. We didn't hear anything about another high stakes narrative yet, so you know my thoughts on that. I really do hope they have a truly, truly high stakes narrative. I do appreciate that the Metal Virus, because the Metal Virus communicates that we have been heard, right? But as a community, I think it's important that we push again. We go, great, I appreciate the higher stakes, because one thing I will say about the resolution of the Metal Virus arc is that it was really cool that the resolution ended up being the character that was not there. It makes the whole Silver going back in time to fix it makes sense. Silver was actively, oh my gosh, Opal, actively the reason that prevented the future becoming as bleak as his was. And it makes sense that his future was bleak because he wasn't there yet in the timeline. Anyway, so we have actually a few people from IDW News and Ryan himself hanging out in the broadcast chat. So this is now the point where I'm going to join in with them, and they can give you their thoughts. So I can mute my mic and take care of this dog that's going crazy. So give me just one moment to do that. Hello, are you guys here? Can you save me from my dog?
Yeah.
Yeah. Hey, what's going on? So I think my dog stopped barking. So what'd you think of all that?
I mean, there was a problem where, like, they showcased everything that was, like, significant in the, like, first, in the previews. They showcased, the character sheet for Belle, and they talked about the next 2 arcs, and that was really all of significance. So this panel was basically a Family Guy episode. All the previews showcase the important plot points, and everything else is just filler. But I enjoyed myself.
I mean, it's always fun to do a Tales Channel live stream and, you know, talk to the chat. It's just, I think I felt bad because of what you say is true. I was trying to be quiet in anticipation for there being something that we didn't already hear about, and I regret doing that. But again, I'm in that position where, like, any second I could be talking over important details, but at the same time I'm getting these questions that are, like, arguably far more interesting than what they're talking about. But I did to read some donations. And now I'm just remembering that now. So TVGN donated $1 and he said Rise of Lyric is the best Sonic game. Come on, Evan. It is a well-known fact. TVGN, I know you're trolling, but thank you so much for the $1. And another donation came in from the Crazy Gamer, $1.50. Hey Evan, I hope you have a great day and what you're expecting from this stream. I am hyped. The Crazy Gamer, now that it's over, I can tell you that I really didn't expect much of anything. But I mean, we're in the drought, so any Sonic news we get, we're just gonna run with it, make it happen. This drought, I believe, is unparalleled. I don't know if Ryan can confirm that, but like, I don't think we've ever had, like, I know there was a drought before Forces, and that's mainly what I'm talking about, is the drought from before Forces all the way till now, and then plus the pandemic. And of course, we're talking strictly about games and not about the movie and all that stuff, and the comics and Forces Speed Battle.
I was a Sonic fan before in 2017, so I don't know.
We can't pretend there's no drought.
I don't think there was that much of a drought compared to this because we didn't get that many mainline games. At least I think we didn't get any at all before Forces, but we got like a mobile game or two, I think, and then we got like Sonic Boom Fire Nice, so that was a thing.
I mean,
with the, like, spin-off
I'm like, right now I don't really like care for game news. Like, SEGA just released a mobile Hatsune Miku game, and I'm like, SEGA listened! So that's kind of like, right now I'm kind of like, I can wait. It's like, there's more important things. I'm not really like, when are they going to announce the new game? I don't think they are going to announce any information on the games this year at all, so that's probably why, because I've already set myself that I'm not going to get anything this year.
So we should probably take a little bit of time to talk about Bell. I'm just gonna start because I did briefly already touch on it, but again, that discussion's coming up in the chat, so let's just bring it up. I will say that I am intrigued by the idea of there being a puppet character. That's a unique idea. We definitely need more female characters, so that's good that she is a female character that is a puppet. I like those two things. And with a puppet being a unique idea, there comes all these like really unique ways of moving and all these unique jokes that only apply to a puppet. I hope she has like strings or something, or she's able to be controlled by someone, like there's some sort of interesting ability. It looks like she's able to take things off her fingers and there's like tools. But I will say that when I did first see the design, I kind of sided with the fact that I actually don't really like the design too much. I don't know what it is. I think it might just not be my aesthetic. I think it's simply just not my aesthetic. It's the colors are kind of just like, what is it? It's like a lime green and a pink and like an orange. They're just not my kind of colors, and I think that's all there is to it. I think it's important to just take ownership of it not being your aesthetic, and not, because there's a difference between what's your aesthetic and what you vibe with and what is truly bad design. And I don't think that Belle is an example of bad design. I think it's an example of a different aesthetic being that like weird puppet look, and it's very different than any other Sonic character we've seen up until now. And so it would make sense that it's aesthetically different, which, I mean, it's good that it's unique, but, you know. Anyway, Matt was saying I should be asking questions, but honestly, Matt, I don't have any questions. We really didn't get that many information, and the entire panel was questions for the people who are making the book. I would absolutely love to have an interview with those people that we were just seeing on stream and actually ask them questions. But really, we didn't get that many new details here. So I don't know if you guys have anything else you want to add. I have been working since 6:30 a.m., so excuse me if I'm like in a rush to get out, but I do definitely want to give you guys a chance to have closing statements if you have any. So please feel free. This is your time to do so.
I like Belle. I like the like how she looks, cause the colors, it might not be for everybody, but I like the colors.
Right.
But it's mainly because they're very similar, or they are the colors to Mr. Tinker from the earlier issues.
Yes, yes.
And I like her design in general. Like, I don't hate it. The nose threw me off at first, but then I kind of grew to like it a little bit. It still throws me off like a tiny bit, but you know, it's not anything where it's like, ew, that's ugly. It's like, oh, okay. But I like the design in general. She's a very appealing character.
Yeah, it's, again, I would never for a second say it's bad design, because like it's very aesthetically similar to Pinocchio, and the color palette isn't, you know, not Sonic, right? It also, the design is not like it's not Sonic. It fits in. It's just different, and so that's actually, if anything, evidence of a good character design. I just, again, personally, I don't vibe with it. Maybe she'll end up being one of my favorite characters just based on personality alone, but based on the design, I'm understanding of people who are like, oh, you know what, I don't really like that very much, but you know what, that's fine, that's okay. Toru, do you have anything you want to finish off with?
Yeah, I kind of agree. It just didn't really side for. I think it's like I agree that it's not bad design. I do look at it and I'm like, something's off about it for me, but I cannot determine it.
Mm-hmm.
I also feel like I need to see her personality and like how it shines. Like Tangle's like, I say that her design got way more better the more we saw of her, because we also started associating her design with her personality. Like in the preview, we would not be able to see, oh, her tail stretches and here's all the way she uses her tail, and that's associated with her character. So I think we need to see her also in action. Mm-hmm. To like fully grasp the character and maybe all the quirks of her design and features.
Yeah, absolutely.
Oh, yeah, like also Whisper's mask, we didn't really know the full function of that design element until the Tangle and Whisper miniseries, and everyone was like, whoa, that's a really cool design element. So I do think we just need to wait, and then like we'll see like, oh, maybe like she does this cool thing and that like identifies with it. I do also think that maybe like the colors are synonymous with Mr. Tinker.
Yep.
Yeah, so there is that comparison, so I think her design was probably based off that. So again, we'll see. I can't say because we haven't seen her in action, and I don't want to be like, this character sucks, worst character in the universe, and I'm like, I need to see what you are, like, so yeah.
And I would absolutely agree. Yeah, it seems like you and I are on the same page. The one thing I did just think of while I was listening to you speak was that I honestly think that the thing that makes Belle stick out, so say we line up the whole cast, and I wish I could do it for you guys right now. Hi, Lords. Bye, Lords. I feel like Belle has a dated look to her. So what that means is like imagine I'm looking right at our like layout right now. I can see Sonic kicking that Knuckles doll or whatever it is, and I can see Team Dark on the right there. They all kind of have a futuristic look to them, right? And yeah, I'm seeing Egg Fighter say Belle kind of looks like Styx, kind of in terms of silhouette, but I'm talking about like it's a more like, what is it, an 60s 80s look. That it's one of those old-fashioned puppets that they've styled her off of, and there really isn't anybody in the main cast that doesn't look kind of futuristic, right? Like I know Silver is from the future, but Silver doesn't really visually look any more from the future than Shadow does. even though he was made 50 years ago, or Rouge does. Aesthetically, he doesn't really look any more futuristic, except for the fact that his palms of his hands glow. And his like cuffs glow. I guess that was like, they were like, let's make him glow all the time. That's future. And it works. It does elevate him a little bit, but aesthetically, most of the characters have a very clean, futuristic, modern look. And all of a sudden, Belle is just like the one with the like puffy pants and like the big bow tie and those like softer colors. So yeah, I totally understand why people feel like their initial reaction was jarring. Seems like a lot of us can understand it, but it was definitely great what Sin and Toru both brought up that I didn't even bring up, which is that the colors line up with Mr. Tinker. I wonder if Belle will find someone like Mr. Tinker. We know that Mr. Tinker ain't coming back because we need Dr. Robotnik or Eggman. We need him the way he is. There's no way. But maybe she'll find someone like Mr. Tinker to be a new master or something like that, and they'll end up kind of aesthetically fitting with Belle so that she looks less out of place. Perhaps that neighborhood or that village that Mr. Tinker resided in has like, that's a regular outfit. I don't know. Again, that goes right in with what Toru was saying, which is we have to see Belle in action, and I think we'll get used to it as we move forward. But I think that's absolutely it, besides saying goodbye. So I'm gonna go and enjoy my break. I will say, guys, I will be live streaming this Sunday at 8 p.m. Eastern Standard Time. Sorry I canceled the past 2 weekends. I have been absolutely exhausted working in a school during a pandemic. You could probably imagine. Yes, they open full time. Yes, it's not great. But regardless, I will be streaming. I want to play Sonic, I think it's called Sonic Revert. That is a game we covered at Sage, this past Sage, where we could all play together. There's a browser version of it, so if you can't download stuff on your computer, you can play with us still. But there's also a downloadable version if you'd like to do that. I think it might be more compatible with controllers or something like that. It's a lot of fun, and I learned something right at the end of our coverage of it that would make me a lot better at it. And the previous stream we've done like 2 weeks ago was Battle R, where you could all play with us. And I'm super into chat integration, so look forward to that. Make sure you got everything you need to join us for Sonic Revert at Sunday night, 8 p.m. Eastern Standard Time. But that is all from me. I hope you got your fill of me talking, since I was containing all of this for the like 30 minutes of the panel. I'll see you guys Sunday, and thank you Sin and Ryan and Toru for joining me with this awesome discussion.
You're welcome. I will be back to ruin this more.
Ruin?
No, Toru.
Anyway, guys.
Yep.
Oh wait, did you have more to say? It's fine, we're still on.
No, it's cool.
All good, all good. Always just let me know. Anyway, guys, see ya. Have a great weekend if I don't get to see ya. Bye, guys.
Base one then.